Everyone, first, just want to say thank you for taking some time to join us here this afternoon. So let me introduce the three amazing panelists we have with us, and then we're going to dive right into how to navigate the housing market post-COVID-19. So first person I'll introduce, we've got Stephen here, located in San Diego. He's a top producing individual agent, been a top producer in his office for eons, but also a published author, professional speaker, and something that Stephen does very well is understand personality types. I think we're all at least somewhat familiar with the DISC profile, right? And that's something that Stephen really has a masterful understanding of, kind of a Jedi in that regard. Matt Boyce is on here as well. He's a vice president and partner at Garden State Home Loans. They've done over $1 billion in production this past year. Matt, obviously knows his stuff when it comes to the financial markets. We kind of were, talking a little bit about the Fed cut and what that means, and we're going to demystify some of the things around that today. And we've got David Kurz on the line as well. He's the CEO and team leader of the Kurz team. Moved over 1,000 families in Miami and the South Florida area. He's a enterprise level coach, published author, speaker, organizer of the Real Talk conference that's taking place in South Florida. So we have a lot of intellectual capital on this webinar today. And we at Chime just wanted to bring that to the table for everyone so they understand what to do in a time like this, where there's a significant degree of uncertainty. So with that, I think I just want to get a taste of what the market is like in each of your respective areas of the country. I think we're covering the Northeast, South Florida, and Southern Cal, so we have different flavors. Here in Atlanta, the city, the government has shut down, but people are still out. There's still traffic. It's Atlanta. That's what we do. People are still at the park, right? So if y'all could just give us some quick insight into how people are responding in your market, I think that'd be a good way to start the tone.
Yeah, I can kick it off. So being in San Diego is relatively interesting as far as, I would imagine just human behavior across the country is very similar. There's a lot of uncertainty. People don't know what's going to happen. And I have 3 little kids, 9 and under. And school is pretty much going to be shut down for the remainder of the year. So, parents have to figure those things out, especially single parents. I feel really bad for single parents or double working parents. The consensus I've seen is a lot of people have stopped wondering about keeping up with the Joneses, let's say. And a lot of people are just getting back to important things too. Like you'll walk by people, even though there's tension in the air in the grocery stores, they'll smile at you. I feel like there's more of a sense of community that's coming back as well amongst all of this turbulence. And with bars shutting down and people just wondering what to do and where to go or how to homeschool your kids, there's like a relearning process that we don't get exposed to when you're working your tail off all the time, just trying to do what you get used to doing. And with all this disruption, in my opinion, it's going to bring a strange sense of community back once all of this stuff clears. So, we're still in the middle of it. And I also bought a gun the other day, and I'm a Canadian originally, so that was weird for me. But, my wife wanted me to plan for, you never know. But at the same time, I hope, as civil as everything's been, it remains as civil as it has been. So it's kind of the strange times that we're finding our family in personally.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. David, what's going on in South Florida?
And I think it's, hey, everybody. I think South Florida's, it's really weird. It's eerie right now. I was in the office late yesterday, and because of all this social distancing and everything, I go to 2 places, my house, my office, right? And I already told my whole team, don't even come to the office. So I come here to just be alone, basically, because I have one kid in the living room going to school, the other kid in the kitchen going to school. My wife's on the other side of the house trying to refi everybody's house. And so it's kind of like, you know, and my mom's a school teacher who happens to live with us, who's teaching classes on the other side of the house. So 4 corners of my house are covered. So I come here to find peace and quiet, but just driving Miami, not finding traffic. You know, I drove through Coral Gables, which is one of our busiest areas here, at around 11:30 to get on my way here to the office. And typically around 11:30, that's when everyone in Coral Gables that works at every attorney's office, they're all rushing all the restaurants and going to lunches and, you know, having their 2-hour meetings in some really nice place like a Morton's or something. And all those places are desolate. It's just a ghost town. And to see that, it brings a really high level of uncertainty in the area, and people don't really know what to do with it. You know, like it's kind of like, okay, I'll go to the supermarket, pick up some things. My wife, my mom, and I, all 3 of us went to the supermarket at the same exact time and bought groceries for the same house because no one was communicating. And I have more bread in my house than. I mean, we've got everything but toilet paper. So there's, it's insane. And everybody's on a fast pace to figure out how to slow down, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You know? And we've got, you know, I had a listing appointment scheduled for Saturday that she was supposed to drive down from Orlando to come talk to us. She decided not to make the drive. I had another client who was buying a multifamily as an investment, decided to back out. Just because he didn't know if he was going to be able to, 1, get it cheaper in a couple weeks, and 2, he's uncertain about his business. He's in the produce business. And so it's just all this uncertainty, I think, is going to really hit us for quite some time.
Yeah.
I believe it. Matt, what's going on in the Northeast?
Oh, you know, plenty of toilet paper. That's the one thing I could say. Although, David, you know, bread, let's face it, you know, in a pinch, depends on what kind, right?
I've got bread.
You can go back to the bartering system. Matt can trade David for bread and toilet paper.
There we go. So the big thing that was on everyone's mind from a consumer standpoint was obviously, besides the crazy news of the virus every day, you're having the Fed lowering rates to 0, and the crazy things that the Fed is doing right now in order to help the market and try bailing us out. And they started something called QE4, quantitative easing. So they lowered the Fed rates to 0, and a lot of people, including some real estate agents. Once, you know, public service announcement, if you're going to be buying, selling, doing anything real estate wise, make sure you have a great team around you, agents that know what they're doing. This is their full-time job, and make sure that you have a great lender too that understands and can navigate you through this. So the Fed did not lower mortgage rates to 0. They lowered their Fed funds rate to 0. And not to go into too much detail, but that's very much different than mortgage rates. Although, yes, I can make a connection somehow. The bottom line is mortgage rates are a very separate thing, and they're not 0. Although, this is what we've been telling all our clients. Number one, we're in a very crazy time. You're looking at the markets. It's up 1,000 points. It's down 2,000 points. It's up again. It's down again. Fear is driving everything right now. So for right now, I just need everyone to understand that despite everything, a 10,000 foot perspective, mortgage rates are still the lowest they've ever been in the history of our industry. So that is the number one thing you should realize. And yes, are they going to adjust a 0.25% here, 0.25% there? They definitely will. But in the long run, a little over a year ago, we were in the mid to high 4s. So to be in the 3s at any capacity, and I know we were hoping to maybe even be in the 2s. The media was talking about that. But just to be in the 3s and to be in this range, it's still making houses so much more affordable, which is just an amazing thing. So to recap, the Fed lowered their funds rate to 0. That does not mean mortgage rates lowered to 0, but mortgage rates are super low, and it is an amazing time to borrow money because it's almost free money. And if you're still in the market to buy and you need to buy, and you don't have the luxury of taking a step back and waiting for this whole thing to clear up. You're still doing awesome, and I don't want you to worry about the interest rates. That's the last thing you should be worried about now, because they're going to be great.
So you brought up a good point about the market crashing and fluctuating. And I think the last time this happened, back in '08, the market crashed as well as the housing market. So a lot of people think back to recent memory, equities market crash equates to housing market crash, which we know that's not true. So how are you communicating, or what are you communicating? This is to everyone, to your clients, to your friends, the people who know, like, and trust you, that just because the equities market crashed, that doesn't mean the housing market will crash. As a matter of fact, it probably won't, but I would like to hear what y'all's take is there.
In my perspective, where I live in San Diego, I mean, the amount of inventory is under 2 months. So we have such little inventory to look at. And up until we pretty much got put under, voluntary, I'll call it house arrest, I did an open house a couple weeks ago, actually this past weekend, for just a great property, and I probably had over 100 parties through, and one of my clients I brought through a luxury area yesterday, and there was probably already 30 cards on the countertop, and the house just got listed. So it's good property will still move here because there's such a demand. I'm not really seeing anything as far as potential crashes. Negotiated something where we had 5 offers, 1 fell off on one of my listings yesterday, and I'm showing property today, this afternoon, to a past client of mine. So people are still hungry for inventory because we're so low on inventory. Maybe different parts of the market that might not have this, resilience because of the pent-up demand for any kind of housing over here, including a crazy rental market in San Diego where our vacancies are so low. So I don't foresee any real issues. Some people are on the fence. I had 4 different clients kind of put things off just to see where it clears up. But there's so much hunger out there for anything, especially because the rates are so low. So again, I'd like to hear perspective in different parts of the country.
Yeah, so your message to folks in low inventory markets is the demand was so astronomically high that even with a drop in demand, it is still far exceeding the supply that's available. So if you're in the low inventory market, you're probably not going to see as many buyers drop off as you would be if you had, 6 months or 9 months of supply. So that's a great point.
Correct.
David, what's going on?
Yeah,
I was just going to make one more comment, which is even if 20 or 30% of the buyer pool fell off, there's still such a demand that it's not really affecting what people are still looking to buy, if that makes sense. There's so many eyeballs on any property that comes out if it's in a great area. So, we're just not really being affected.
I mean, I think we're in a little bit of a weird situation down in South Florida because we do have inventory. We have an over inventory on condos, right? I mean, there's more condos here than actually live here. And then there's the single family housing market's a little bit different. They're anything under 700,000, you're looking at a 3 to 4 month, inventory. Anything over 700,000, we're at 8 to 9 to 10 month inventory. So, and then I can keep going from there, over 1 million, over 2 million, et cetera. Right now over 1 million is like 18 months, over 2 million is way longer, And so when you start looking at that, and then you add into that cake, you add 56,000 real estate agents, because we're the largest association in the country. You got to fight for your food here. You know what I mean? And so if you add it's already tough to be a real estate agent down here. And because your biggest battle or your biggest one is my cousin's a realtor, my maid's a realtor, my grandmother's a realtor.
Not for long.
Not for long. Selfishly, 100%, I'm kind of looking forward to that, and it was the same thing that happened in 2008. I remember how many people fell off. And I shifted. I became the short sale king. You know, I think I did like 60 short sales the first year of the market crash, you know, and that was huge. Like no one was doing business like that. Other people went the REO route. I went the short sale route, and then everybody else was, you know, serving us lunch at, you know, restaurants. It just people will change. It changes the market. But here now, what I've been telling agents is stay relevant, right? Become a part of your community, become a source of knowledge. And if you got to go show properties, like Steven's out there showing properties today, you know, if you have to go show properties, be smart about it. You know, make sellers feel comfortable. Make sure that you're out and about with somebody that is really qualified. Like really do your due diligence and pre-qualify. Don't just jump in the car because they, you know, hit you up on the lead gen and said, I want to see this house. And you're like, okay, let's go. You know, like be cautious about who you're going to be meeting, who you're, you know, elbow bumping with, because we're not even shaking hands anymore, right? You know, so we're soon to adapt Japanese culture and start bowing at each other just to keep distance. It's just, it's a changing world. And here, you know, when you see a large city like Miami, just kind of everybody go home and there's no one anywhere. And Miami has already put rules in effect, like after 10 p.m., if you're under 17, you can't be out. Restaurants are no longer allowed to be open. They have to only do to-go orders. You know, or if you have a window, you can have your window open for quick foods, but drive-throughs, I can't go to a restaurant, sit in a restaurant right now if I wanted to. And with all those changes, well, where are people going to go? There's nowhere to go. They go home, you know? A lot of businesses are working remotely. So I've been telling people, stay relevant, get in front of your clients. If they want to go see houses, bring masks, bring gloves, bring the little booties for shoes or take off shoes at the door, like whatever you have to do to make the process feel more comfortable, because the reality is that this is all an extension of fear. People are afraid. They're afraid, you know, and let's face it, we're only in this position because there's no cure for COVID-19 yet. And if there was a cure, we would be like, oh, wow, this is the craziest thing that ever happened, but moving on, you know, but that's not the case. So it's just different. It's weird.
Matt, what are you telling people when it comes to dealing with the influx of refis and the impact that's having on folks who are looking to purchase? How are they impacting one another?
All right. Well, first, before I get into that, I just want to give Chime a shout out because I'm Mr. CRM. I'm the biggest geek you'll ever find. I love geeking out on all this stuff and automations and drips. So we have Salesforce. We use that to spread the word of what's going on with the Fed funds rate, with refis, with what to expect. We've been communicating via mass text, mass email, coming up with our content, doing our video updates, and then blasting that out to everybody because we have not a database, a data bank, as Randy likes to call it, because that's your goal. But we've been blasting them, and Chime, what does that do? Well, it allows you to organize all your pipelines, and you have your people you're working with, you have your people you close, you have everybody in between that came over on a Facebook ad. Well, now's a chance for all these agents out there to be leaders in their industry and spread good information and relevant information and look at David and get out there and sift through the bullshit and just tell them what they really need to know. I mean, if you're an agent and you want to do virtual tours of your properties, get out there and tell everybody in there. And they might be thinking, wow, my agent doesn't even, like, she still has a flip phone. This is awesome. Oh, you guys, you're going to be able to bring me through this house that we wanted to see. And maybe we're germaphobes, which now we all are. And I mean, I got my Purell and I got my disinfectant wipes right here next to me. So I'm prepared. But listen, I mean, this is a time for everybody to shine, to get out there and use these platforms like Chime, which just happens to be the best one that I found after test driving probably a dozen of them. So it's just an amazing opportunity. So as far as refis go and what to prepare your people, because they're going to come to you if you're real estate agents and they're saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to keep this house eventually and I want to buy something later on. Maybe you go, well, if you're going to turn that into a rental, you want to refi that and get your monthly expenditure on that, your monthly payment as low as possible. So look, refis, rates are all over the place. So this is what I'm advising. You want to just get your application in, get to a point where you can lock that loan. So get your app in, get your docs in, get the lender. Maybe it's me. A few states I'm licensed in. We can go over that later, but we can get you guys set up to lock. And then when we have a good day, which Monday was a good day, we were locking everybody in at a lower rate where we set that expectation. So that's what we're doing with refis right now. But yeah, the influx of refis, Bank of America, they're not doing any real underwriting anymore. State programs have kind of shut down because they're inundated. Most lenders are at a 60, 90-day turn time, and because of that, they jacked up interest rates into 4s, 5s sometimes. They're advertising because they don't want any more business, and that's also choking off the purchase market. So before you pick your lender, before you go to the Quickens of the world or your big corporate lenders, make sure that they have the capacity to work with you. And if not, I always recommend you go local. Always go local, because that lender has a reputation locally that they depend on to get business in from agents like David and everybody that you work with. So they're going to make sure they take good care of you.
So you're saying that, your household names, your Quickens, your big banks, these folks are having so much refi come in, so much other business come in, that they are actually trying to avoid more business by raising interest rates so that they don't let these loans and so on and applications fall through the cracks. So the net effect is
that's a net effect. So we saw rates, for example, with TD Bank, for example, went from 3.25 to 4.25 in 3 days. So they did that because they just got everybody. Think about it. If the rates are down to 3.25, 3.299 on a 30-year fixed, literally everybody that's ever gotten a mortgage can refi. So and David's wife probably hasn't slept in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I feel for her. And so I know that I was working 15-hour days just to input everybody. So they all got flooded, and then they jacked it up in order to manage. But all this will calm down, and all this will dissipate, and hopefully a new normal will overtake the country, and markets will calm, and rates will go to historic lows. But for right now, that's why I'm saying just get locked and loaded if you want to refi. And if you want to buy, I wanted to show you something real quick. Let's see if I can share my screen. Hold on. Unfortunately, I have to share Randy's face for a second. All right, here we go. So I do a recession class for the past several months. I've been doing a recession class for agents, and I won't bore you with all the details, but all the indicators were already there for a recession, and who knew what was going to kick it off. I mean, this is just the craziest thing that we ever could have expected. Although if you watch a TED Talks with Bill Gates from 2015, he literally laid out that this is what's happening right now. But that being said, this is the Case-Shiller U.S. The Housing Price Index, which is the gold standard of housing of measuring appreciation over time. So this is over 50 years. And you could see that, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, everything you see here is a recession. So right before the last recession in 2009, what is this? What do you see here? It's the bubble. That's that housing bubble everyone talked about. So the reason the housing bubble became that is because of guys like me. And unfortunately, I didn't know what I was doing back then, but I was just pushing loans like no income, no assets. I've been doing this since 2003. So a lot of this was caused by loose guidelines on appraisals. I could order it from a buddy of mine who I knew personally. And I'm not saying they inflated the values on purpose, but their guidelines were very relaxed. So this bubble happened. And then what happened? We had the recession and values came down because they were adjusting for this crazy bubble. But then every time there's been a recession, the value goes up. So then we're at a point where we're higher than where we were in 2007 when we hit that peak. And this is important because I wanted to show everyone that we're at this value or this appreciation because, stop sharing. we're at this level of appreciation after the most stringent guidelines ever imposed on appraisals and valuation of property around the country. So the values that we're at right now, if you're thinking, I'm going to take a step back, I think values are going to plummet. I think, look, I can't predict the future, but I'm going to tell you that it took a long time to get to where we are now organically. And little by little, where realtors will tell you, they're bitching that values are coming in low all the time. And why are they coming in low? Because of these super stringent appraisal guidelines. So if you're buying right now, the real estate market's the shining light of the country right now. So, and of the economy. So the demand is still there. And if buyers are backing out, like Stephen was saying, or David was saying, that's an opportunity for you to get in there and not have 8 people bid on a property. Maybe it's only 3 or 4, but you can get a good deal with a low interest rate.
So that is, in a nutshell, in one breath, why the housing market isn't going to take a crash, maybe like the equities did. And at one point you mentioned that you're looking at 60 to 90-day turnaround times for applications. So my takeaway there is if I'm talking to my buyers who are thinking they're going to hold off for a few months, that doesn't mean they need to stop the loan application process, because it could be a few months before they actually get approved. And that could, if they wait, keep them from getting the home that they want to live in, right? So am I interpreting that correctly, Matt, that the pre-approvals for purchases still need, even if they don't want to buy now, they still need to go through that process?
Yeah, I mean, the pre-approval, unless you buy a Bentley or you lose your job or you something happens financially, which of course now that's a very serious issue right now, a lot with some people, because 60% of the country are hourly. Unless anything like that happens, that pre-approval pretty much is indefinitely good. So, going through the process and understanding, I might tell you you're qualified for a $400,000 house, but that doesn't necessarily mean you want to spend that every month. So what's your monthly budget? And now I think everybody, including myself, sat down, and I think Stephen said this, and they're not trying to compete with the Joneses anymore. They just want to buckle down. They're getting thin on their budgets and they're saving. Well, after you're done that budget, what is your real max mortgage-wise? And if we know that number, any good loan officer can back into the purchase price, which then they're going to tell David and Stephen and your realtor and allow them to find you a realistic home that you're going to be able to afford, rather than, yeah, I'm good up to $400,000, and then you see when the numbers come in, you're already under contract, you're nervous now you're not going to be able to afford that payment.
Very cool. So let's shift gears a little bit. David, I know that you were actually putting together a few events. Events all over the country have been canceled. Kind of what was your thought process there? Tell me a little bit just about what went into that. Oh, we got 2 Davids now. And,
I'm having problems.
And when, sorry.
I'm having problems with my computer, so I'm switching to the iPad. So I'm going to shut this one down and come in the other way.
I had phone issues myself, so.
Yeah. All right. So my computer froze, but I'm in. Can you hear me okay?
We got you.
All right. Awesome, man. Yeah. So you were saying something. I'm sorry, man.
No, you're good. So I know that you
side of you, Dave.
So I know you were putting together some events, right? And like events all over the country, they've had to be canceled or postponed. What was going through your head in that process, and when would you feel comfortable getting back together, right? What are agents going to be able to say to people, or when are they going to be able to say, in your opinion, that it's time to gather in groups of more than 10 again, or something to that effect?
I think it's a tricky situation because, we have this event planned in Denver for April 16th. And then, we have our larger event here in October, and even the October one, we're thinking about canceling, which, we don't want to make any hasty decisions just yet. But like I said before, man, I believe in the 90-day rule. Like anything you put in work today is going to pay you in 90 days. Well, the other way, it works the other way too. Whatever negatively happens today can affect you over the next 90 days. And so if this lasts for the next 90 days, it really means it's going to last for the next 180 days, you know, in people's brains. And when are people going to feel comfortable to buy a ticket to an event and sit in a room with 400 or 500 people? That's the trick to the whole thing. When we had to cancel the event, you know, of course we're a little bummed about it. We're really looking forward.
That's a good side of you, Dave.
Yeah, we're good. You see how that's the computer on super delay, huh? So we when we did that event, you know, and we canceled it, we said, you know what, we have to be safe ourselves too, you know, which, you know, people would be flying in for this event. I'd be flying to Denver for the event. I'd be sitting on an airplane with, you know, God knows who and who has what, and bringing that back to my family. And I mean, I just read an article this morning posted in the New York Times where, you know, a family got together for dinner and 7 of them got sick and 3 of them died. Like that's insane, you know? And when you see something like that, you kind of have to sit back and go, I can't do this event. Like it's irresponsible for me to do this event right now. And going back to the second part of that, when will I feel comfortable to know whether or not we will do another event or reschedule Denver or even have the October event? I think I'm really going to have to play this by ear and see when, number one, when this is over. And over is an oversimplification, because over means there's a cure, people are getting vaccinated, no one's dying anymore, and people's minds feel safer, right? Like, because there's going to be a small portion of our human nature that's going to say, all right, well, we're good. And there's going to be a larger portion that's going to say, but you might want to be careful and still elbow tap, right? And, you know, and we were laughing, like Matthew was saying earlier, people were like, you know, wash hands and this and that and blah, blah. And I watched the news when this was first, you know, wash your hands for 20 seconds. And it's like this and then like this. And I look at my wife and I go, isn't that supposed to be normal shit that happens? Like, you know, should we be washing our hands anyway? But it's crazy that we have to like put that on a major news network, you know, to let people know they should probably do that more often. And man, it's a tough one. It's hard to say if we're gonna move forward, and it really, really, really depends on when the community is gonna feel safe again to be able to congregate groups like that and go to major events, and even speakers. You know, high-level speakers that would want to, you know, come out and stand on the stage in front of all those folks, they're going to have to travel and fly and stay in hotels and et cetera, and eat out and the whole nine. And will they feel safe doing it? So 2020 is going to be a real weird one. I saw somebody post yesterday, can we unplug 2020 and plug it back in after 10 seconds?
Yeah, that's a great thought. So
I wanted to add to that,
yeah, go
Randy.
ahead.
One other thing that I think a lot of people might not have really focused on is just the lack of liquidity in their own households, right? Like with all this downturn, so many people, if they've been furloughed or laid off or, you know, hours cut, there's a lot of people that just don't know where their income's going to come from. And 4 or 5 months, like if we take the 6 months that David's talking about, you know, think about that. What does it cost to run your household, no matter how tight you make your belt and you watch every penny? What does that look like? And then how do you recover from that, and how soon, and where will you put your money when you do start to recover? Will it be into events? Will it be into personal development? You know, like I've just been thinking about that a lot, because, you know, I feel fortunate that I have a bit of a burn rate, you know, just with savings and things like that I put away, but unfortunately a lot of people don't. And so how's that going to affect us when we do come back from all of this, and how long will it?
We could possibly say that the majority of people don't. And when you start looking at our business as realtors, as real estate, you know, professionals, when you start looking at people refinancing their houses right now, it's really great for the lenders. It's not so great for us, because that could potentially mean that they're going to stay in their houses much, much longer. Where, you know, and I had a conversation on Wednesday, yesterday was Wednesday. I was on a webinar with a VP of development from NAR, and she said that already over the last, you know, 12 months, they've shown that people, that old saying that we say, you know, the average person stays in their home 7 years, that's now 10 years, you know? And does this right now, even if they found the cure tomorrow, everyone that refinanced, the billions of dollars that have refinanced since the beginning of the year, does that turn into, I'm not selling my house for the next, you know, whatever. The market makes a shift and prices come to settle down a little bit. Now the value is gonna be less than what they owe because of just refi, you know? And so are they stuck with that house for quite some time? And yes, we can educate them. We have to shift. We can educate them and say, hey, look, but you can rent this one and go, you know, go buy another one. But then, you know, maybe they're not liquid to go put a 20% down payment on the next property or whatever.
Well, but Dave, that's also why you're going to see a lot of the inventory is, yes, it's going to be less, but all the agents are going to be a lot less too, right? So they're going to get, I know your market real well, and it's just crazy. It's like everyone's cousin, sisters, friends, uncle is an agent. And I mean, it's really everywhere because in a good economy, in a good market, and this real estate market is on fire. I've been doing this 17 years. This is the hottest beginning of a year. It's like spring market in January and February. So going into this whole virus thing, the whole country was completely on fire in almost every market on real estate wise. So everyone's a realtor. Now things are going to get tight. Everything is going to get to a point where the agents that are embracing technology, that are embracing learning their craft and being able to get that message out, they're the ones that are going to survive. They're going to be able to guide everyone through it. And I'm telling you, this is going to be, overall, this is a terrible thing, but it's going to be a great thing in the long run for anyone in this industry. Because unlike 08, 09, 2010, where we were the cause of this shitstorm, excuse me, Randy, but this time around, we're the shining light of the shitstorm because we're the only ones that are doing well in pretty much the entire economy right now. So
and
agents
even in that market, the agents that prevailed were the ones that stayed in, that shifted, that helped their clients, that became leaders in their community, that provided information, that taught people what an REO and a short sale and a foreclosure meant for them. The teachers, the coaches, the consultants, those are the ones who stayed in the game, right? Those are the ones who survived the last crash.
Yep.
They're not the ones.
Talk more about that, David. Actually, I would like to unpack that statement. Become leaders in their community. What does that look like for the three of you?
I mean, for me, it means educating my community, educating my clients, educating my past clients, educating everyone that I have a reach to. I mean, and when I say reach, I mean, I don't know you guys. I'm crazy on social media. I'm always posting, so that's a part of my reach and putting good, solid information out there, like Matt said earlier. And I was like, you know, like, please, like, don't be the propaganda specialist. Provide really good information to your clients so that they're making well-educated decisions. So you're the person they call when they need something. Or you could be the agent that keeps posting these bullshit, funny memes, and then one of your clients has a kid or a spouse or a parent that gets sick, and all they're going to remember is your dumb butt making fun of a disease that just took out one of their family members, right? And so, you know, refrain from the ridiculousness. Stop believing the propaganda. Please, for the love of God, stop making Facebook your newsfeed, right? Like, you know, they're real news channels.
Well, wait, Dave, I want to hear from Steve just so I can look at palm trees. Can we do this? Can we do this at Steve's house next?
Absolutely.
Steve, you maybe want to step outside. I'll do the East Coast palms. You do the West Coast palms.
My computer's on my palm tree on my jacuzzi right now. So.
What a jerk.
Sorry.
I know. Jeez, Steve. You're supposed to be the nice guy.
I am. I'm trying. You know, just come over. Get on a flight. So they're
Oh yeah, get on the flight. Yeah, they're real cheap right now.
You know how many friends that fly that they show me like photos of the plane and they're the only ones on it, like a private jet. So I would say it's probably a relatively safe time to fly, honestly. Nobody's on airplanes. So I mean, that's just an unfortunate fact. But, you know, I think there are certain personality types that we're just very social. And we're also professional and we're solutions oriented. And when you have that combination, and that can be developed, but for a lot of different leaders, it's just an inherent part of who we are. Sorry, here's my daughters jumping on the trampoline. Of course, they can't leave me alone. But when you have that combination, and you're not about business, as Gary Vaynerchuk would say, jab, 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 right hook, and always just go with value. Just show people what's going on. Show them the humanity. Exactly. Show them the humanity of what's going on. And but you still always show up as a leader in your profession. And then you don't have to convince anybody of what you do or how you do it. People gravitate towards you. And when times like this start to happen, people ask you, people are curious. I'm telling different buyers that I'm working with right now, there's opportunity, to find houses you might not have found before. And sorry, I have to ask my girls to keep it quiet. Hey girls, I know you're having the best time, but I told you I'm on this, right? So I know you're on a trampoline and everyone in freezing parts of the country are upset. But, when you emerge like that and you don't force things down people's throats as to, hey, I'm the professional, this is what I'm doing, and now I have a helicopter flying over me. But when you can do those things and show up that way, then people will watch your posts. They will want to learn from you. It's almost like they're watching a news feed from somebody they trust online on a TV show, right? A news anchor. And they'll lean towards you and they'll ask for advice. So that's what's been happening to me. And I feel very fortunate that I've been able to develop that in my business over here over time.
It really is the best thing to do. I mean, at the end of the day, people are concerned, they're worried, they're fearful. They don't know what to do next. And if you could be a shining light, we've been saying a couple of times already, and provide really solid, good information, not garbage information. Like for instance, Miami-Dade Public Schools is opening for breakfast and lunch. People can pick up bag lunches. Like, there's just simple things like that, providing really good information. I was joking yesterday. I was like, guys, if you find toilet paper, put it on social media where it is. Like, just provide solid information for the people that are out there that will, like Steven says, follow you, trust you, believe in you, and when they have a question, you'll be the person they come to. You didn't have to force them to do that.
No more palm trees, Matthew. It's your turn.
Well, first of all, I was laughing because I have that book sitting right here.
Yeah. Yep.
Great book. If anybody hasn't written it, Gary V, crazy guy, but a lot of great content coming out of his camp. So, are we wrapping this up, Randy? Do you want final thoughts of the day?
Oh no, I've got a few more questions if y'all don't mind. We're just unpacking this idea David has of being a source of information and not feeding the propaganda machine, not being the meme generator, but being the valuable information source. Yeah, here. I just sent this to all of our agents. This is a little vlogging thing we can get right on Amazon. It's not expensive. Hold your phone here. Has a light here. Looks real pretty, or makes you look pretty. So I suggest building your content. Because if you're a leader in the industry, you have something to say. How many times do you sit there with a client, whether it's a seller or a buyer, and you have a really intelligent conversation, telling them about all the years of experience and what not to do and what to do? Like all these conversations, if you watch Gary V, for example, does he sit there in a controlled environment every single time and do this highly produced video? No, it's some guy following him around, just videoing the conversations he has with random people on the street and at his events. So I think just getting the content together and then blasting it, not annoyingly, but just putting it out there once a day, whenever some relevance coming up there, and being consistent with your messaging, that's the real key. I mean, consistency compounds, right, Randy? My favorite. Yep, yes, sir.
My favorite phrase. Consistency compounds. So if you're doing that, twice a week, 3 times a week, you're putting something out there. You're not overwhelming them, but you're staying consistent with your messaging. Like, I'm the virtual realtor. I'm the tech realtor. I'm the one that's going to show you the houses from the comfort and safety of your home. I'm the one that's going to make this happen. And you constantly say, if you say it one time or 2 times, maybe nobody cares. But all of a sudden they see that 7 times, and now they're thinking, oh, yeah, someone asked them, hey, I really want someone that's going to be virtual, that's going to show me the house virtually. Who do you know of that? And then they're going, oh, I've seen David Kurz all over my feed for weeks now telling me he's the virtual realtor. Go to him. So I just think everyone just needs to be consistent with their branding and messaging. And now, right now, more than ever, people that need to buy a house or need to sell a house, because sometimes it's not a luxury. Sometimes you're relocating. Sometimes you're in the middle of a divorce situation or something really serious, and you need to do it. Yeah, it's shitty timing, but you need to do it. So those are the people that are going to go to people that know what they're doing, and hopefully that's everybody watching this that can be consistent with their messaging.
And funny thing is that all this advice that you just gave, it came right after talking about Gary Vaynerchuk, who basically overflows your social media with massive information, right? All the time, always providing content. I mean, he just has cameras follow him around all day long, so you can see what he's doing today, you know? And we're talking about how great his book is, you know? And it's really like, it sounds so simple. The hardest part is for people to take action and get it done, you know? And
absolutely.
Opportunity. A lot of agents are at home. A lot of agents don't have the luxury of a huge network of people to reach out to. So create content.
Well, I got to tell you, I had a win. Lindsay Binks is one of my agents. She's actually watching this right now, and she's probably blushing right now. So Lindsay hates being on camera. She hates video. She just hates it. I have a green screen and a studio here in the office. She's like, nope, not going to do it. And guess what? She came out of her comfort zone. She's been doing video, just sitting in her car in between showings. She just had a house go within days. She was able to get it sold. And she's doing video to give people boots on the ground, a real world analysis of what's going on with real estate right now. And she's crushing it, and I love it. And Lindsay, you're the best. And all my agents that we have a mastermind group with all the agents that are in Chime. Oh, yeah, that's funny. Look at Dave. Lindsay, you get around. What's going on, girl? So, so that's the best when you're seeing like the agents, like this is the time to shine, the time to be a leader, and to get out there and get a little uncomfortable because everyone's sitting in their house. Oh, that was the thing. I told her, think about, have you ever in the history of the world had a more captive audience than right this minute, where you have everybody sitting at home, and what are they doing? They're trying to get away from their kids because they're being crazy on a trampoline, and you're on your phone just trying to like escape reality and see what's going on in the world, and you're on social media because you don't want to watch the news anymore, which technically I guess that is the news these days, but you have a captive audience. So if they see, oh, it's not Corona related, it's my agent doing something cool or showing me what's going on with real estate, I'm telling you, right now is the time to shine. It's going to be awesome.
And so you've alluded to it, Matt, and just showed some of the technology that you're using, but I want to hear from everyone as a whole, what role does technology play in a day and age like today?
I mean, people just want to see real. Right? Like my kids were jumping on the trampoline. I had to force them out of here and try to mute this thing, and hopefully it was on mute, right? But that's real. Nobody just wants to see the robotic lender or robotic agent just like, oh, the market's great and we're doing all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. No, people want to work with other human beings that understand that they're wrestling through what their new reality is like too. And if you can post that and talk about it, believe me, a lot of people want to talk about it. A lot of people want to talk about their new normal or their kids, you know, banging on their door, or how you can never hide in any part of your house. And, you know, our kids we're out of school here. Like I don't know if school's going to be done for the rest of the year. And as I mentioned, I have 3 kids under 9. So, you know, it's a chore. So how do you balance all that? How do you homeschool? Plus, how do I work? Plus, how do I get them out to do things in safe places like bike rides? And you can still talk work while you're doing it, but just don't dominate through work. So social media is the key, you know, having the camera that Matt was showing to make you look a little prettier, you know, people want to look pretty, but you can use anything. It really doesn't matter, but the social exposure is what we all have access to. And as also Matt alluded to, this is the most captive audience, like as far as numbers you'll ever get if you make calls. And your calls don't have to be, hey, do you want to sell your house? No. Your calls will be like, how are you doing? And if people know you as a realtor, right, because you've done your job correctly, then if they want to talk about real estate, which they're probably going to ask some questions, they'll just bring it up in the conversation. You don't have to, because then, you know, why were you calling me? And right now there's other things on people's minds other than real estate, and just keep it that way. But you have a reach right now, and you have the ability to connect to people on an unprecedented level, because nobody is going through their day without reading about the coronavirus, thinking about it, wondering about it, what's tomorrow going to bring. Everybody's there. So, you know, reach them that way. And if people have questions for you, they'll just ask. You don't have to ask them. They will ask you.
And you know, Steve, what a great point. What are we doing with all this stuff, right? Social media, what are we doing with Chime? What are we doing with everything? It's really just to start conversations.
Absolutely. That's an amazing point. You're absolutely right, man.
Yeah.
That really is it. It's a tool.
So like the rates going to zero, great time to start a conversation. You know, all these topics, you know, how many times have you guys emailed, blasted with your drips, your smart plans, and it's like nobody responds? You want to know why? Because it's boring and has nothing to do. They don't care. But if you hit them with something like, hey, did you hear about Fed lowered rates to 0%? Let me know if you want to know what's going on with that. You know, and it's just open-ended stuff. You're going to get people to have conversations. And by the way, if you're going, well, I don't want to annoy them. Well, if you're not, somebody else will. And they're going to have that conversation with another agent. And then that agent's going to get the business.
I love this conversation because I'm always having similar conversations as people say, you know, oh, but my videos are not going to be professional, this and that. And that's, look, this is the best camera you can buy right now. And this is the best tripod in the world right here. I call it my Unipod. And I just, you know, videos. And, you know, yesterday, I realized yesterday I posted my 400th YouTube video. And I tell folks, they're like, oh, but you're a natural in front of the camera. I go, yeah, go back to number one.
Yeah.
And I looked so weird in front of the camera. Hi, my name is David Kurz, right? It's just, you know, it comes with practice. And what better time to create a short, hey, get in front of the camera every single day and update your community on what's happening out there and make it 60 seconds or less. Just like, hey, yesterday, Donald Trump got on the thing and said, blah, 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 blah. And the Fed's lowered to blah, 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 blah. And that's it. And you're off. And you're just providing quality information. Hey, I went to the store yesterday, and guess what? They're going to be closing from now on at 8 p.m. So if you're going to go to the store, make sure you're there early, and et cetera, et cetera. Like just getting solid, real information out. You know, and then in the in-betweens, to what Steven's saying, and let people know that you're in the same or similar situation as them. I'm home with the kids too. I have things going on too. You know, I come to the office, but my office is empty. This is the emptiest it's ever been, you know, and it's just, you know, there's so many ways to work with clients. WhatsApp video, FaceTime, Zoom, conference. I mean, just, man, there's so many ways. And if you're okay going to see a vacant property out there and you want your client to see it, man, you can't miss this property. Let me show it to you. I'm going to FaceTime you when I get there. Let's walk around. Check this out, you know? And you'd be surprised how many people are open to this. You'd be so surprised.
And so earlier when we were talking about the crash in 08, David made a great point that a lot of the agents who are successful today were the ones who pushed through and persevered through that crash. So I just want to take us back in time. We're almost up on time. So before we are, I want to go back to that time and what did y'all do during that time frame in order to persevere, in order to thrive, in order to maintain your careers, and how do those activities apply to today? Can you go back to the basics and do the same things you did then now? Is it different? Is it the same?
Well, I just wanted to start off, you know, because everything came down to money before. So I think a big boost of what's going to help us keep going through this is going to be the bailouts that we're seeing and we're going to see. Before, they were actually giving you $8,000 to buy a house. Remember that, Dave? Steve?
Yep.
they were giving you $8,000 to buy it, and then that turned into like you were getting it back in your taxes somehow, and then it just disappeared. So I think the difference between then and now is now they immediately came out with the the easing. They immediately, there was no lag at all, where before it took a long time for them to acknowledge that there was a recession and that there was a problem. And then those bailouts were a long time coming, where this time it was like immediate. So for me, I think that it's just going to be a lot of help for the economy in general to try to ease the fears, to calm things down, you know, as best as they can until the virus does its thing and we can all be human beings again. But I think that the bailouts you're going to see to help stabilize things, for me, because I'm a money guy, I think that's going to be the most important part of getting through this and keeping rates low and everything moving forward.
It really is. I'm just complete agreement. It really is. And it's going to happen. It's, you know, the president already said he's going to sign it. As soon as that influx comes in, I know interest rates are a little bit funny right now. I think they jumped up. And there's multiple reasons for why they jumped up. One of the biggest reasons, I think, is the secondary market's not buying much of anything right now. So people are lending their own paper. And when you lend your own paper, you got to be careful with how much you put out there. So you got to make it a little bit different. And it just, once this influx of funds comes in, then things will change again. Banks will feel safer. People will feel safer. At the end of the day, it's just uncharted territory. We're making it up as we go along. We really are. You know, the laws, the rules, everything, the actions we take. Somebody put a question in the group there. It said, should we be leaving Clorox wipes at the front door and instruct people to wipe down, you know, doorknobs and stuff? Why not? And I told her, leave the wipes, leave gloves, leave masks, leave hoodies, whatever makes the client feel comfortable enough to come see that happens. Do whatever it takes, because it's all balanced on fear. And back in 2008, you know, there was a huge shift in the way people thought, because prior to that, people thought, I will pay my mortgage before I pay any other bill out there because I will not lose my house, right? We're talking 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And then the crash happened, and then the mindset became, well, I just won't pay my mortgage and I'll be in here for the next 18 to 24 months. And then I'll short sell it, right? And then the banks can actually give me money to leave peacefully, right? And then, you know, who knows when I'll buy a house again. And then 2 years after that, bank said, you know what? If you had a short sale in the last 2 years, we'll go ahead and finance you. Then it became 1 year. Then it was 1 day at a short sale. Like, you know, it'll continue to transition and mindsets will shift. But this situation that we're going through right now, it's almost impossible to say what's the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do, because we're all in uncharted waters right now.
With respect to, I think it's something we haven't quite touched on yet, as well as like, what can we do? Do the old school tactics work of how to hustle in any business? When I first started in real estate back in '93 in Canada, it was a recession. I moved here in 2008. My wife is from San Diego. I started in a recession. When I was 10 years old, I started knocking on doors. What did I do when I moved here? I went and I started knocking on doors at the banks. And, you know, my dad taught me when I was a kid that everybody needs two things: a place to sleep and and something to eat. So people will always need real estate. And in these uncharted waters, when I moved here, I didn't know what a VA loan was. I didn't know what an FHA loan was. I didn't know what a high balance, I didn't know any of this stuff. But what I learned when I first got in this business is if you have somebody that wants to buy something and somebody that wants to sell something, they're going to figure out how to put it together, and you have to learn how to be the medium in between. Right now, I mean, go talk to lenders, you know, go talk to wealth managers, go talk to bankruptcy attorneys, go talk to divorce attorneys. Like, think about what's going on right now with the different stresses that are happening on people. Right now, there's a law you can't be evicted, right? If you rent. Fannie and Freddie just made a rule yesterday, the day before. There's a 60-day moratorium on foreclosures. But it doesn't mean people are going to recover. So if you start thinking about where to put your efforts in this business and how to grow this business, because again, we're going to have real estate professionals or mortgage professionals listening to this you know, live right now, but podcast after. Go out there and talk to service providers and offer your services to them. Again, when I started knocking on doors to banks when I first moved here, because who has the oil? I have the drill. Who has the oil? And they had the oil. They had the buyers. They had the sellers, or they had opportunists. There was one buyer I sold 7 condos to, you know, that I met during those horrible times when everything was rebounding. But if you want to go out there and start to just create relationships with people that now more than ever need your help, because if you're a professional or striving to be a professional with a great team behind you or a mentor, you can sell yourself through value. And right now people need value more than ever because they're going to have families that are going to be going through bankruptcy right now. And what are they going to do with their house when they come out of their, protection, their bankruptcy protection? What are families that maybe were teetering, and unfortunately this stress is causing them to finally make a decision? And I'm not saying that's a good thing, but it might be a good thing for their family. I don't know. But you're going to see a lot of different things start to happen. So tie yourself to these professionals, because these professionals come to rely on great vendors, and you're a vendor, you're a service provider, right? So start getting out there, boots on the ground, bring out valuable content, talk about what's going on, show people really what the human psyche is like and that you're there for them. But at the same time, you're amazing in your business, or you have an amazing team behind you in your business to support you. And you'll start to develop real relationships with people, because you're not just talking about business, you're talking about what's going on, and you tie that to your business. So start being effective in those ways. And the more people, like we say in real estate or any service industry, it's a contact sport. The more contact you make, the more, the better results you're going to have, because nobody knows who you are if you're undercover as an agent. So get out there and talk to the right people, not just people in homes, of course, but I get a lot of referrals from wealth managers, CPAs, different types of attorneys, insurance providers, people doing construction. Like, start tying yourself to those people, because they have an ear to what's going on. And if you tie yourself to them and they like you and they understand that you're results oriented, they're going to call you. And who doesn't want a text or a phone call that says, hey, I got so-and-so that wants to buy a house or sell a house or whatever it might be. Call them. Absolutely. So get to work that way.
We just went over time by about 120 seconds. Is there any way that anyone can get in touch with y'all that y'all want to share, or any way to contact y'all?
Yeah, I'll just give my phone number. That's the easiest if anybody wants to call me, just not after hours, not in no drunk hour. But
share it in the, type it in the notes section there, the conversation piece.
Sure.
That might be easier. David, Matt?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do this. I'll give you guys my email and my phone number. I love talking about this. So if anybody has any ideas, you want to talk it through, or if you want any ideas that we've done, I'll share whatever. I have an abundant mentality. So big thing Randy visited us. We did a big webinar with a lot of our agents, and we talked about abundant versus scarcity thinking. And if you look that up, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But have an abundant mentality. Right now is the time when all the major, kind of like we're doing right now, and we're all just collaborating. And they all say you're the sum of the several people you hang out with the most. Same thing goes with business. So put yourself especially now, surround yourself with people with great ideas, feed off each other. And then in the end, I promise you, like every market, there's like a select few, the platinum level of agents that are sitting up there year after year after year. How did they get there? They didn't start there. They got there by collaborating with the right people, being consistent, utilizing technology, doing all these things little by little, and they grew, and now here they are. And people look at them as like pillars of the industry and everything else going on in your town. So good luck, everybody. Randy, Chime, really appreciate you inviting me on this thing. And Steve and Dave, when we're allowed to travel again, we'll all have to get together, have a beer, and touch.
Absolutely.
Need more than 6 feet away from each other.
Not a corona.
I look forward to seeing y'all there. Thanks for your time.
Yeah,
y'all
man.
crush it.
Everybody
And
in the chat, best place to hit me up is Instagram at David Adam Kurz. My phone number's on there. My email's on there. So that's the best place to catch me. But if I could leave one final tip, I enjoyed what Steven just said, was this is a contact sport. So know your numbers, man. If it took 10 calls to get one client, and I'm just dumbing down the numbers, you might have to go 30 now. So if it takes 100 calls or 100 contacts to get one meeting, you might have to go 200 now. You're gonna have to go all in to keep your business going, and that's only gonna just imagine when things get normalized again, those 200 calls will turn into 2 or 3 or 4 appointments, and you'll be doubling and tripling your business because you made it through.
I love it. Well, thank you all again. This is recorded, so I'm sure we will get this out through various channels. thanks again for everyone joining us this afternoon, and be safe. Wash your hands.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye.